Ethan had lived on the edge of the desert colony for 2 quiet years, long enough to learn its rules, but not long enough to understand them. The colony was built where human houses met alien huts, where sandstorms could swallow a man whole, and where strange stories traveled farther than the wind. But among all the stories, one warning never changed: never speak to the old, alien woman who walked the desert alone. People said she was older than the dunes, older than the first ships that landed, older than every war and peace agreement written on this planet. Some claimed she was not one person, but a spirit that wore different shapes. Others swore she was cursed, walking forever, neither alive nor dead. Ethan heard these things 100 times, and every time he nodded politely but never believed. He thought it was just fear, just myths, just another desert tale meant to scare newcomers. But everything changed one burning afternoon. Ethan was returning from the water station, carrying 2 containers on his shoulder. The sun was like fire, and the sand reflected the heat until it felt like he was standing inside an oven. The road stretched in front of him, empty except for the shimmering air. Then he saw something moving far ahead, slow steps. A faint shape, a figure struggling to walk. As he came closer, he froze. It was her. The old alien woman. Her back was bent, her silver hair floating in the hot wind like threads of smoke. Her skin carried the color of the desert, brown, golden, cracked like old stone. She walked barefoot, leaving no footprints, her eyes unfocused as if she was looking at something far beyond this world. Ethan felt his heartbeat speed up. He remembered the warnings. Turn away, don't approach, don't speak. But she staggered suddenly and collapsed to her knees. Ethan looked around. No one else was there. The sun burned hotter. Her hands were trembling. She pressed a weak palm against the ground, trying to rise, but fell again. He hesitated. Every story he heard ran through his mind. People said helping her brought misfortune. Some said she tested humans and cursed them if they failed. Others said she drained life from those who touched her. Ethan didn't know what to believe. But he also knew he couldn't walk away from someone dying on the road. He stepped forward slowly. "Are you okay?" he asked softly, even though he knew she wouldn't answer. She looked too weak even to breathe. She lifted her head a little. Her eyes were cloudy, glowing faintly blue, as if the sky lived inside them. Ethan felt something strange, a heaviness, a quiet sadness, like she carried centuries within her small frame, without thinking more. He opened his water container and held it out. "You need this more than I do," he said. His voice felt too loud in the silent desert. The old woman stared at the container. For a long moment she didn't move, didn't blink. Then, slowly, she reached out with trembling fingers. Her hand brushed his for a second. Her skin was cold, too cold for the burning weather. She lifted the container to her lips and drank in small shaking sips. Ethan watched her carefully. Each sip seemed to calm her breathing. She took one long breath, then lowered the container. Her voice, when it came, was a whisper carried by the wind. "Kindness remembers its giver." Ethan didn't fully understand, but the words felt heavy, like an old promise being spoken again after many years. Before he could ask anything, the woman stood slowly, stiffly, yet with a strange strength, and walked away. Not a single footprint marked the sand behind her. She simply drifted forward, becoming smaller and smaller, until she disappeared inside the golden waves of dunes. Ethan stood there long after she was gone. His heart felt strange, like something inside him had moved. He told himself it was nothing, just a moment of help. But when he looked at the container in his hand, it felt oddly warm now, as if her touch had changed it somehow. He walked back to the colony with an uneasy feeling. People glanced at him but did not ask anything. They already sensed the desert had brushed against him. As evening came, a silent tension settled over the air. The wind was too soft. The birds that usually circled near sunset were missing. Even the sand seemed to hold its breath. That night, Ethan woke suddenly. At first, he thought it was a dream. Darkness, silence, then a strange hum in the air. But as he sat up, he felt it clearly. Something old was moving across the desert. Something alive. Something awake. He stood near his window. The dunes were glowing faintly under the moonlight. The horizon shimmered as if a wave of invisible energy was sweeping across it. He didn't know why, but he felt it coming toward him. The old woman's words echoed again. Kindness remembers its giver. Ethan swallowed hard. Something about that simple act, giving water, had changed the desert. Had changed her. And now, whatever she awakened was coming. He didn't know if it was a blessing or a curse, but he knew one thing for sure. Nothing in his life would stay normal after tonight. Ethan barely slept after the strange night. Every time he closed his eyes, he felt that same silent hum in the air, like a heartbeat under the sand. When morning came, the sun rose too quickly, as if the night itself had been shorter than usual. Ethan rubbed his face, still tired, and walked toward the door to start his day. Before he reached it, someone knocked. It wasn't a normal knock. It was gentle, light, almost musical. 3 soft taps. Then silence. Ethan froze. No one visited him this early. And no one in the colony knocked like that. The knock came again. He opened the door slowly. 5 alien women stood on his doorstep. For a moment, Ethan forgot how to breathe. They were unlike anyone he had ever seen, tall, graceful, glowing faintly as if touched by starlight. Their skin carried soft shades of blue, gold, and rose. Their eyes were bright like living crystals, each pair a different color. Their hair fell in long, shimmering waves that moved even when the wind was still. But what struck Ethan most was their expression. They were staring at him with a strange mix of gratitude and expectation. The woman in front stepped slightly forward. "Are you Ethan?" she asked, her voice calm and smooth like warm sand. He nodded, unable to say anything. "We are here because of our grandmother," she continued. "The one you helped yesterday." Ethan's breath caught. His heartbeat echoed loud in his ears. "You mean the old woman? Is she okay?" All 5 women exchanged a look, a soft, emotional look that hinted at centuries of memories. "She is alive because of you," the leader said. "And because of what you did, we are here." Ethan moved back a little, unsure. "I only gave her water. Anyone would have." The second woman stepped forward. Her eyes were a deep green, glowing like a forest under sunlight. "No human has offered her water for 100 years, she said. "Not one. They fear her." The third woman, whose hair shimmered like silver dust, added, "But you did not fear. You acted with kindness. And kindness awakens old promises." Ethan felt cold. He remembered the old woman's whisper. "Kindness remembers its giver." "What do you mean by promises?" he asked. The first woman glanced behind her, as if checking no one was listening. "Our grandmother is the matriarch of the Sandheart clan. The desert listens to her. It also listens to the one who gives her life in her weakest moment." Ethan stared. "I just gave water. I didn't bind myself to anything." "You did," the fourth woman said softly, without knowing. Their voices felt like the wind, soft but carrying power. The fifth woman stepped forward now. She was the smallest of them, with bright golden eyes and hair like red flame. She held out her hand, not touching him, but close enough for Ethan to feel warmth. "We came to take you with us," she said. "You must meet her. She has awakened." Ethan blinked. "Awakened? From what?" The first woman replied, "From a sleep older than this colony. She was fading." Your gift stirred her heart again. But what woke inside her is not simple. The wind shifted gently behind them, swirling dust around their feet in perfect circles, not random movement. but movement with purpose. Ethan felt a shiver climb up his spine. "I don't understand," he said quietly. "Why me? I'm just a worker. I have no power. I don't belong to your clan or your world." "You belong to kindness," the second woman said. "And that is enough." The words hit him like a warm wave, comforting, yet terrifying. He looked at the 5 women again. Each carried a different beauty, a different presence, a different energy. But together, they felt like a single force, connected, ancient, and unbreakable. "What happens if I come with you?" Ethan asked carefully. "You will see truth," the leader said. "You will learn why the desert moved last night. You will understand what you awakened. And you will know why our grandmother called for us to stand at your door at sunrise." Ethan stepped outside slowly. The sun was still low, but the light around the 5 women glowed brighter than the morning. The sand under their feet rippled as if greeting them. He looked back at his small home, ordinary, quiet, simple. Then he looked at the 5 women, extraordinary, powerful, waiting. "Okay," he said softly. "I'll come." All 5 bowed their heads slightly, almost in respect. "Then the desert will open for you," the leader whispered as they walked together toward the dunes. The ground beneath them shifted, almost welcoming him. Ethan felt the world he knew slipping away behind him, replaced by something ancient, mysterious, and far bigger than any human story he'd ever heard. And deep inside the desert, something waited for him, something he was not ready for. The walk into the desert felt unreal to Ethan, as if he had stepped out of his old life and into a dream he didn't fully understand. The 5 granddaughters moved ahead of him in a slow, graceful formation, their robes flowing like waves even though the wind was almost still. Every step they took seemed to leave a faint shimmer on the sand, as if the ground recognized them. Ethan kept close, trying to match their pace. The sun rose higher, but somehow the heat didn't burn as much in their presence. The air around them felt cooler, softer, almost protective. Sometimes Ethan caught faint whispers like voices hidden inside the wind, but when he listened harder, everything went silent again. After a long walk, the leader finally spoke. Her voice blended with the air, so gentle it barely disturbed the quiet. "You may feel strange things," she said. "Do not fear them. The desert responds to your steps now." Ethan frowned. "Why mine?" The youngest granddaughter smiled slightly. "Because you touched the matriarch's life at her weakest moment. The desert remembers what she remembers." Her words didn't fully make sense, but Ethan didn't push further. He was too focused on the strange movement under his feet. It wasn't normal sand shifting. It felt like the sand pulsed, breathing. Hours passed and suddenly they stopped. The land in front of them changed, rising into smooth dunes shaped almost like sleeping creatures. Ethan noticed something then. The dunes weren't random. They formed a perfect half circle around a flat area of glowing sand. "What is this place?" he whispered. "The gate," the leader said. "Only our bloodline can open it. And those the matriarch chooses." Before he could react, the 5 women lifted their hands. Their palms glowed faintly, each one a different color. The wind rose suddenly, circling around them. Sand lifted from the ground and whirled upward, spinning faster and faster until the half-circle of dunes trembled like the earth itself was waking up. Ethan stumbled back, shielding his eyes. Then everything stopped. The dunes split open, not breaking, but folding apart like petals of a giant flower. A narrow path appeared, leading down into the earth where cool blue light glowed from below. The leader turned to Ethan. "This is where our grandmother calls you." Ethan swallowed hard, feeling his chest tighten. Still, he followed as they began descending. The path was steep but strangely smooth, as if polished by centuries of footsteps. The deeper they went, the cooler the air became. By the time they reached the bottom, the heat of the surface felt like a distant memory. Ethan's eyes widened. They stood inside an enormous underground cavern. The ceiling sparkled with tiny crystals that reflected blue light like a frozen night sky. The walls were smooth stone, carved by nature or time, he couldn't tell which. But the most breathtaking thing was in the center, a massive tree. But it was not a normal tree. Its roots, glowing silver, spread across the cavern floor like a map of lightning. Its branches rose upward like arms reaching for freedom, each leaf made of thin light that shimmered when Ethan breathed. The air smelled faintly sweet, like rain that had never touched the ground. "What is that?" Ethan whispered. "The memory tree," the second granddaughter said softly. "Our grandmother's life. Her power. Everything is tied to it." The youngest approached the roots and placed her hand gently on one. Her eyes closed as if she felt something moving through her. "This tree keeps our clan alive," she explained. "And yesterday, it stopped glowing. We thought our grandmother would leave us forever." Ethan felt something heavy settle inside his chest. "But then," the leader said, "after you gave her water, the tree awakened again. It called to us. It called for you." Ethan stepped closer, drawn by something he couldn't describe. When he placed his hand near one glowing root, not touching, just close, the silver light flickered brighter. All 5 granddaughters stared at him. Ethan pulled his hand back quickly. "Why is it reacting to me?" "Because you have been marked," the leader answered. "When you offered water, you offered life. And the desert accepted your intention." Ethan looked up at the enormous tree again. A soft hum vibrated from it now, the same hum he heard last night. It grew stronger as he breathed, stronger as he stood nearer, stronger as if it recognized him. A voice suddenly drifted into the cavern. Soft, fragile, but powerful, like a memory that refused to fade. "Bring him forward." Ethan's skin prickled. The old woman stepped out from behind the glowing roots. Not weak, not dying, but standing tall with restored strength. Her eyes bright like fresh morning sky. "You," she said, her voice calm yet ancient, "have awakened what was sleeping inside my blood." Ethan had no words. The old matriarch smiled faintly, and now human. "The desert wants to awaken something inside you." Asterisk. The matriarch's presence filled the cavern like quiet thunder. Ethan felt small standing before her, even though she looked calm and gentle. Her eyes glowed brighter than before, as if her body carried the light of the memory tree itself. He tried to speak, but his voice stuck in his throat. The old woman lifted a hand, stopping him gently. "Do not fear," she said softly. "You did not bring danger. You brought breath." Ethan swallowed. "I only gave you water." The matriarch smiled, a slow, ancient smile that held both sadness and wisdom. "Water is never only water. Not in this desert. Not to my people." She walked toward the glowing tree, her steps steady, but her breathing slightly heavier. As she touched one silver root, the entire cavern brightened. The roots pulsed once, like a heartbeat. "The desert does not forget kindness," she continued. "And you offered it freely, without demand, without fear." She turned to him again. "That purity woke something in me that was fading for centuries." Ethan looked at the 5 granddaughters. Their faces were soft with emotion, pride, and something else. Worried. The matriarch's voice dropped lower, almost a whisper. "I do not have much time left." Ethan's chest tightened. "But you look stronger." "Only for a moment," she said. "My body is old. My spirit is older. Even the desert cannot hold me forever." The youngest granddaughter stepped forward quickly. "Grandmother, please." The matriarch raised her hand again. The girl stopped, tears shining in her eyes. Ethan felt a strange ache inside him. He had never known this woman, yet he felt connected to her. Maybe it was the tree. Maybe it was the desert. Or maybe it was that simple moment yesterday when he refused to let her die alone. The matriarch turned to him again. "You wonder why you were called," she said. Why the earth shifted. Why the wind changed. Why my granddaughter stood at your door. Ethan nodded slowly. She stepped closer. The soft blue light around her grew brighter. Because your heart carries something rare. Something we believed had died long ago. You acted with instinct, not calculation. You gave help when no one else would. I only did what felt right, Ethan whispered. That, she replied, is why you are the one. Ethan didn't know what she meant. But before he could ask, the cavern trembled slightly. The memory tree dimmed. The silver roots flickered like dying candles. The granddaughters gasped. The leader cried. The matriarch steadied herself using one glowing root. Her breath came slower now, and her hands shook. Ethan stepped forward without thinking. Are you okay? She gave him a soft, grateful look. I am at the end of my road, human. Even the desert cannot change that. But before I go, I must give you something. The cavern grew quieter than silence. The matriarch lifted her hand. Light gathered in her palm, swirling like dust caught in a sunbeam. It grew brighter until it formed a glowing orb, golden, warm, alive. This is my life's last strength, she said. Not power, not magic, something deeper. She placed the orb against Ethan's chest. He felt a warmth spread through him, gentle but strong, as if the desert itself breathed into his heart. His vision blurred for a moment. He saw flashes, endless dunes, forgotten cities buried under sand. Battles, peace, storms, laughter, sorrow. And 1,000 years of memories all passing like a river inside him. Then the warmth faded. The orb melted into his skin, leaving a faint mark glowing over his heart. What? What did you give me? Ethan asked shakily. My bond, she whispered. And my trust. Her voice weakened. The roots behind her flickered again. The granddaughters ran to her side, holding her gently. She touched each of their faces with a trembling hand, her expression full of love and peace. The oldest granddaughter broke into tears. Please don't leave us yet. I must, the matriarch said softly. But do not fear. The desert will guide you. And him. She looked at Ethan for the last time, her eyes warm as sunrise. Protect them, she whispered. Stand with them. When the storm comes. Then her body glowed softly, brighter and brighter, until it faded into tiny grains of golden dust. The dust lifted slowly into the air. Swirling around the memory tree, the tree pulsed once, glowing gently. As if saying goodbye, silence filled the cavern. The granddaughters held each other. Crying softly. Ethan stood frozen. He had witnessed the last breath of a being older than humanity's presence on this planet. He felt her final gift glowing inside him, warm, heavy, alive, and he knew this was only the beginning. Deep underground, the desert whispered around him. The storm she warned about was already coming. The memory tree glowed faintly, as if trying to hold the last traces of the matriarch's presence. Ethan stood in silence, unable to move, the warmth from her final gift still resting over his heart like a second heartbeat. The 5 granddaughters stayed close to one another, their hands joined, their faces streaked with tears that shimmered in the blue light. But the silence did not last long. A soft rumble echoed through the cavern. At first, Ethan thought it was his imagination, the kind of sound the earth makes when shifting naturally. But the rumble grew louder, heavier, until dust drifted down from the ceiling. The granddaughters' heads snapped upward at the same time. That's not the desert, the second granddaughter whispered. Someone is breaking through. The youngest wiped her tears quickly, her expression tightening. They found us. Too soon. Ethan felt his stomach twist. Who found us? The leader turned to him, her voice low. Desert raiders. They have hunted our clan for generations. They want the power of the memory tree. and the last glow of our grandmother's life. A violent crack split the cavern air. A massive stone beast, shaped like a horned predator, broke through the upper wall. Its rocky hide glowed with red veins, and on its back stood raiders in dark armor, their eyes hidden behind metal visors. Behind the first beast came another, and then another, shaking the whole cavern as if a mountain had come alive. The leader grabbed Ethan's wrist. "Stay behind us." Ethan stumbled back, heart racing. The granddaughters moved into a tight formation, 5 sisters, 5 powers, 1 united force. Each lifted her hands, and the air around them changed instantly. The stone beasts charged. The eldest granddaughter struck first. She spread her hands and sent a sweeping wave of light crashing into the beasts. The light exploded against the stone hides, pushing them back but not stopping them. The raiders raised weapons made of jagged crystal, and the creatures roared forward again. The second granddaughter stepped beside her sister and clapped her hands. A low sound wave rippled outward, shaking the ground so hard that cracks split the cavern floor. The roar of the beasts wavered, but still they kept coming. The youngest granddaughter summoned swirling red particles, shaping them into a whip of living flames. She slashed at a raider trying to leap down from the beast. The flame whip wrapped around his arm, burning his armor as he fell back screaming. Ethan's legs trembled as he searched for something, anything to help. But before he moved, the fourth granddaughter, the one with shimmering silver hair, stepped beside him. She lifted her hands and created a protective barrier around him. "A soft dome of light. You are not a fighter," she said gently. "But you are important. Stay in the shield." Ethan wanted to argue, but the fear in her eyes told him she couldn't risk anything happening to him. Not after what the matriarch had given him. The leader moved to the front, her eyes burning with fierce energy. She inhaled deeply, then slammed her palms together. A thin crack of golden energy shot upward like a lightning bolt, striking the ceiling. The cavern shook violently, and falling stones crushed 2 raiders instantly. But more kept coming. Dozens of them poured through the broken wall, shouting, firing bursts of crystal energy. The stone beasts roared again, their red veins glowing brighter as they charged at the sisters. The granddaughters fought bravely, beautifully, each movement filled with purpose, each power used with precision. But the raiders were many. Too many. A sharp cracking sound behind Ethan snapped his attention away. One of the beasts charged at the silver-haired granddaughter, protecting him, its horn aimed at her chest. She didn't see it. "Look out." Ethan yelled. Without thinking, he threw himself at her, pulling her out of the way just as the creature smashed into the barrier. The shield shattered like glass. The creature swung back for another strike. Something warm exploded inside Ethan's chest. He didn't think. He moved. His body reacted with strange speed, faster than his own thoughts. He grabbed the granddaughter's arm and pushed her aside again, then rolled under the beast's horn and slammed his hand against its glowing red vein. A burst of golden light erupted from his palm. The beast roared, stumbled, and collapsed into a pile of harmless sand. The cavern froze for a moment. The granddaughters stared at him, shock, fear, and awe in their eyes. The leader whispered, "Grandmother's last strength." She really gave it all to him. Another massive roar thundered through the cavern, more beasts coming. Ethan breathed hard, the glow on his chest flickering, his heart racing with new power he didn't know how to control. The granddaughters gathered around him again. The leader placed her hand on his shoulder. "Ethan, we need you." And as the ground began shaking again with the arrival of a larger raider force, Ethan realized something terrifying. He was no longer just a visitor in their world. He was now part of the battle for it. The cavern shook again as more raiders stormed in, their beasts roaring loud enough to make the crystals on the ceiling tremble. Ethan's heart pounded so hard he thought it might burst. The glow the matriarch placed inside him flickered like a small sun under his ribs. warming his blood, sharpening his senses, making every sound echo like thunder and every movement slow like drifting dust he didn't know how to control. Yet he knew it was the only reason he was still alive. The granddaughters formed a tight circle around him. "We must reach the heart of the cavern," the leader said urgently. "The Sandheart is awakening." Ethan didn't know what the Sandheart was, but the way she said it made his skin tingle. The youngest granddaughter grabbed his hand and pulled him forward. Her touch was warm, steady, and filled with silent strength. They ran deeper into the cavern, weaving through falling stones and crumbling roots. The memory tree pulsed brighter now, its silver roots glowing with a soft rhythm that matched Ethan's heartbeat. He felt drawn to it, as if something inside the tree was calling, whispering his name through the light. Behind them, the raiders shouted orders. More crystal blasts hit the walls, sending shockwaves through the ground. "Faster!" the silver-haired granddaughter shouted. "They're trying to shatter the roots." Ethan pushed himself harder. Every step grew easier, as if the power inside him was guiding his feet, helping him move with unnatural speed. The granddaughters noticed. "He's changing," one whispered. "He's tuning with the desert," another added. They reached the center of the cavern, the exact spot where the matriarch had given Ethan her last glowing breath. The ground here shimmered with golden dust, swirling in a slow circle as if forming a vortex. Ethan felt a warm pressure in his chest. The glow rose from under his skin, matching the swirling light. His breathing hitched. He stumbled forward without meaning to. The leader caught him. "It's reacting to you. What is this?" Ethan whispered. "The Sandheart," she said. "The desert's oldest core. It sleeps until a heart worthy of holding its guidance appears." "I'm not worthy," Ethan said. "I'm just human," the leader said. "Exactly what it needs." Before Ethan could answer, the ground beneath them shook with a blast so powerful it knocked all of them to the floor. Raiders poured into the chamber, dozens of them, shouting, riding beasts that crashed through the roots of the tree. The cavern filled with chaos. The youngest granddaughter rose with fire swirling around her hands. "We'll protect you. Don't let the Sandheart fade." The sisters unleashed their powers again, light waves, sound blasts, glowing vines of energy, but the raiders kept coming. One jumped from his beast, aiming a crystal blade at Ethan. Ethan reacted without thinking. His hand shot out, glowing golden. A burst of light erupted, throwing the raider across the chamber. Ethan stared at his own hand, shaking. The leader shouted over the roar of battle. "Ethan, don't fight the power, guide it." Another raider leapt at him. Ethan ducked instinctively and swung his arm. A curved wave of golden dust burst outward, slicing through the attacker's armor and sending him tumbling across the ground. The sisters fought harder, realizing Ethan wasn't just defending, he was awakening. But the raiders were countless. A stone beast broke through the roots and lunged at the eldest granddaughter. She raised both hands, straining with all her strength. But the beast pushed through her defenses. Ethan dashed forward faster than he should have been able to move and slammed his glowing palms against the beast's chest. The golden light surged like a flood, melting the stone creature into sand. The eldest granddaughter looked at him with wide eyes. "The matriarch. She gave you everything." Ethan felt dizzy. The light on his chest pulsed faster. The swirling golden dust at the center of the cavern rose higher, forming a glowing sphere. The air hummed with ancient energy, old enough to make Ethan feel like a child. Standing before the universe, the sphere drifted slowly toward him. The granddaughters stopped fighting. When they saw it, time felt suspended. The golden sphere floated in front of Ethan's face, spinning gently like a tiny sun carved from pure desert light. Ethan felt a calm warmth spreading through him, erasing fear, replacing it with a strange sense of belonging. The leader whispered with awe, The Sand Heart chooses him. The sphere touched Ethan's chest. Light exploded. Not violent, beautiful. The cavern filled with swirling dunes of gold. Ethan felt memories, voices, stories, and ancient knowledge rushing through him. Thousands of years of desert life. Of clans rising and falling, of storms that shaped worlds. Of sacrifices and love and survival. He gasped as the golden light sank into his heart, merging with the matriarch's last gift. The Sand Heart accepted him. When the light faded, Ethan stood taller, his eyes glowing with new strength. A faint golden mark sculpted itself onto his arm. Curved lines shaped like a rising sun. The granddaughters stared at him, not with fear, but with reverence. The leader placed her hand over her heart. Ethan, you are now the guardian of the Sand Heart. But before Ethan could even breathe in this new reality, a massive roar shook the cavern. The largest raider beast yet burst through the broken wall. The battle wasn't over. It had only just begun. Asterisk. The giant beast that broke into the chamber looked different from all the others Ethan had seen. Larger, heavier, almost like a living mountain with burning red eyes. Its horns glowed bright orange, and cracks across its stone skin pulsed like molten lava. The raiders on its back stood tall, shouting victory too early, believing they had finally cornered the Sandheart clan. But they hadn't met the new Ethan. The golden mark on his arm glowed brighter as the Sandheart settled fully inside him. Power hummed through his veins like a living river. The cavern suddenly felt smaller, as if Ethan no longer fit inside the weak, fearful version of himself he used to be. The leader stepped beside him. "Ethan, can you stand with us?" He looked at her, and for the first time, he didn't feel unsure or scared. He nodded. "I can." The beast charged. Ethan didn't wait. He ran forward with speed that surprised even him. The ground blurred under his feet. The golden dust around him rose like a storm following his steps. The raiders shouted commands, aiming blasts of crystal energy at him. But the attacks slowed in the air, caught in a golden pull he didn't fully understand yet. The youngest granddaughter jumped beside him, her fire swirling brighter than before. "Let's do this together." Ethan smiled. Together. The beast swung its massive horn downward, aiming to crush them. Ethan slid under it, golden dust forming a protective shield around him. The flame granddaughter leaped, landing on the beast's back with burning hands. She attacked the raiders, flames circling her body like a living comet. The other granddaughters joined the fight. Light, sound, vines, and shimmering crystal energy filled the cavern in a breathtaking storm of power. They moved in perfect harmony, 5 sisters and 1 human bound by fate, each defending the memory tree and the Sandheart. Ethan felt the tree's pulse in his chest. It guided him. Every time a raider fired, Ethan saw it before it happened. Every time a beast lunged, Ethan sensed its path. Every shift in the cavern's air felt clear to him, as if the desert whispered instructions straight into his bones. The leader shouted a warning. "Ethan, you're right." A raider rushed toward him with a raised blade. Ethan instinctively threw his hand forward. Golden dust burst from his palm in a sweeping arc, knocking the raider backward into a crystal pillar that shattered around him. The granddaughters stared for a moment. Amazed, he's using the Sandheart like he was born with it. The second sister shouted. The beast roared again, shaking the cavern like thunder. It turned toward Ethan, lowering its head as molten cracks along its neck brightened. It was about to unleash a deadly blast. The silver-haired granddaughter yelled, "Ethan, move!" But Ethan didn't run. He planted his feet and exhaled slowly. The golden mark on his arm glowed fiercely. The desert energy surged inside him, warm, ancient, powerful. He raised both hands. Golden dunes erupted from the ground. They swept upward like a rising wave and slammed into the beast's attack just as it fired. The blast collided with Ethan's dune wall, exploding into sparks of red and orange. The shock shook the cavern, but the wall held. The granddaughters gasped. He shielded us all. Ethan pushed forward. The doom wall collapsed into a swirling storm that wrapped around the beast, blinding it. The enormous creature stumbled, lost balance, and crashed into the cavern floor. Raiders scattered in panic. Ethan didn't stop there. He leaped onto the beast's back, golden dust wrapping around his arms like armor. He slammed his hands into the glowing veins on its neck. Light burst out from under its stone skin. The beast roared once final, desperate before collapsing entirely, into harmless sand that spread across the floor. The cavern fell silent. The remaining raiders dropped their weapons and fled through the broken walls, terrified. None dared look back. None dared challenge the new force standing in the heart of the desert. Ethan stepped down from the pile of sand, breathing hard but steady. The glow in his eyes dimmed gently, settling like a warm ember deep inside him. The granddaughters rushed to him, surrounding him with relief and awe. "You saved us," the leader said, voice trembling. "No," Ethan replied, shaking his head softly. "We saved each other." The memory tree pulsed again, stronger now, brighter than it had been even before the matriarch faded. Its roots glowed with renewed life, as if accepting Ethan as part of the desert's ancient cycle. The youngest granddaughter looked up at him with a smile. "The tree knows you now. The desert sees you as one of us." Ethan touched the golden mark on his arm. "I'm not sure I deserve that." "You do," the leader said firmly. "You proved it today." Together, they walked toward the tree. The cavern's lights softened. Dust settled peacefully. For the first time, Ethan felt not like a visitor, but like someone who belonged. The leader stood beside him. "Ethan, what will you do now?" He looked at the glowing roots, at the sisters who had fought at his side, at the desert that now felt like a living companion inside his chest. "I'll protect you," he said. "All of you. As long as this mark beats inside me." The sisters exchanged warm, grateful smiles. The oldest placed her hand over her heart in respect. "Then you are truly the guardian of the Sandheart." Ethan breathed deeply, the scent of ancient desert filling his lungs. He knew this was no small promise. It meant being a bridge between two worlds, a defender against threats that might rise again, a keeper of the matriarch's last hope. But he also knew something else, something that settled gently inside him. He wasn't afraid anymore, because legends weren't born from destiny, they were born from choice. Ethan had made his. The desert wind rose softly, swirling golden dust around him as if welcoming its new guardian, the human who became legend.